Hey everyone, Paul ISM. Welcome to part 1 of our Hasegawa 124 Ferrari 250TR video build. Yes, so we're back. This build was voted for. First off, I narrowed the list down on Facebook with everybody on my Paul ISM page, and you narrowed it down to 3 kits. It was this, the Ferrari 330P4 from Fujimi, and the Ashima Lamborghini Diablo. And I then put this to the patrons, the ones that were able to vote on the tier they were selected, and this won by double the votes of nearly everything else. Oh, no, it didn't. No, it didn't. It won by about 10 votes. It was quite close, actually. It was the first lot of votes that it had a runaway on. So, yes, we're here. Now, this was a very generous gift from my buddy Joe, all the way from Canada, a few years back now. It's a very, very hard kit to find. Really hard kit. Because of that, I didn't do a full review. So we're going to have a very, very quick look through the box, and it is very quick. I've sped it up to save a bit of time. And then we'll have a look at it as we go through the build and chat about it in depth as we go. But really hard sought after kit to find. Thank you, Joe, for sending me this, mate. Finally getting to build it at last. And we're going to get this to 2K today. The usual order on this one because I've just released the videos as we go on this one today. So let's jump in, we'll have a quick look through the box and get going on some bodywork preparation. Okay, so let's have a quick look through this box, this epic-looking car. You get a really nice photo headset in this. Some seatbelt material, mudguard material. It's not a ram-packed box, but there's quite a lot in it. The body shell is really nice and clean. There's a few seam lines to clean up. You've got these side panels to go on the side of the body there as well, so you can need some careful clean up and fitment. Bonnet separate. We've got suspension parts. Sorry, not suspension parts. We've got chassis parts there. We've got bonnet fixings, numerous other small parts there. I'm not going to pretend to know what they are. We've got our tyres as well, treaded tyres in the kit. Actually, not too bad at all. Very nice. No seam down the centre, which is always good. Very good. And polycaps in there as well for fitting our wheels. There's our floor pan, our chassis as well, and our tonneau cover for the passenger seat. Steering wheel, interior seats, as opposed to exterior seats, the rear diff, drive shafts, and other small parts, exhaust parts, brakes, steering hubs, and of course the engine as well. It does have an engine in this, where it gets its name from, the Testarossa name, Redhead. So while it's a decent kit, there's not a huge amount of parts in here, so it should be a fairly simple build. We've got the chrome sprue here and the clear parts. Not a lot of clear parts. My windscreen has fallen off, unfortunately, but luckily not damaged in any way. Just needs a little bit of a clean up, so that's good. The rest of the clear parts are there for the light lenses and whatnot. And then the chrome parts. So the wheels, they're not the best. I would have loved a PE upgrade set, but can't find it anywhere. So we're going with these wheels. They're not too bad. Don't think they're going to need dechroming. We can just give them a wash and see how they look. And all the parts are there for fitting the wheels and all the stays as well. Like I say, it's a really nice PE set. Sorry we flew through that. It was a bit quick, I know. If you want to have a look, you can pause it. And then instructions for the PE and the decal sheet as well, which is very comprehensive. But sadly, there's none there. Instructions are fairly well laid out, not too complex, not too busy, quite straightforward a build by the look of it. So we're going to start with the body as always. And the scheme we're going for is Ferrari Le Mans blue with a silver stripe, right where my thumb is there. So we'll start off with some parts, cutting off and cleaning up. So we've got the main body shell. We've got these 2 side pieces that go on. They have some little intake pods on them as well. We've got the bonnet to go on too. So there's not a massive amount of parts for the body itself. Just look at the instructions to kind of remind myself what needs doing and where. We cut the tonneau cover off and just having a quick test fit. Obviously there's bars in the way for now, but we'll sort that out later. I think we're going to go with a Bordeaux wine red interior on this. And we'll do that cover in a similar colour too. Cleaning up the parts, really straightforward. It's a Hasegawa kit. They're quite clean kits. Doesn't take a lot of cleanup at all. So I'm just going over it with 220 UMP thinny stick. Then we'll hit it with our 400 and the buffer to get it fully cleaned up. And a quick test fit. This part doesn't fit too bad. It's not the best. It is going to need a little bit of filler later on, but our main concern is this back piece here where my finger and thumb are right now on the right hand side. I want to get all this lined up because the rest of it is hidden underneath. So we need to put filler underneath. It's not the end of the world. So the best way to do this is to just line it all up, and we'll just glue it in place at the front, work on our way back down. These little intake pods on the side as well have been cleaned up and they just glue in place. So don't apply loads of pressure. You don't want to squeeze molten plastic out. Onto our seam lines. Like I say, it does run from front to back. They're not very pronounced. They're not huge. It's very minimal cleanup on them, to be fair. We're hitting these with 240 UMP sponge, and then we'll come at it with the 3000 grit Tamiya sponge later on to get it all prepped for primer. So fairly easy seam lines, nothing too difficult at all. Like I say, the most difficult part is here underneath. They run underneath and just in the front intake pod as well. So some careful sanding there, not a problem at all, and over the rear humps as well. There's lots of angles on this. Be very careful. Don't be rear profile anything. Just go light with the sand, and you don't need to go at it like a gorilla, like I do. Bonnet fit, really good. And like I say, the seam lines, not really a problem at all. Nice cleanup. So we test fitted this, and I decided I'm going to glue it at the back first and work our way forward. So I'm just holding it in, I'm not pressing it. We don't want any molten plastic, and then we let that bit dry, and then move on to the next section and work our way all the way down to the front. It is going to require some filler. There's no way around it. You can see the gap underneath there on the other side, so we're going to have to fill that gap. Obviously, it's inside, so it's not the end of the world, but I'm just making sure these rear parts are filled in and sit as good as possible, and then we can push the front in, get that glued in place, and butt it up to the top of the inner arch, and then just glue that there like so. Like I say, not the most perfect of fit, but we'll fix that with some Vallejo putty in a bit. The main concern is to get it all glued in place as good as we possibly can. Obviously, repeat that for the other side as well until it's all in place. And then we're going to give these parts we've just glued in place a very light sand with our sponge, just remove any glue marks and any excess plastic that might be there. Doesn't take a lot of work. It just needs some careful sanding to remove the excess plastic or the glue marks. Really simple to do. Like I say, we're going to lose a bit of the panel lines here. There is a natural panel line on the car, so we want to leave it in place. I've just got my JLC razor saw, just take out any excess plastic. Just some very gentle scribing to get it back profiled properly. And then I've got some Vallejo plastic putty on a cocktail stick, and I'm going to put it all in those panel lines because they are way wider than the ones on the kit because of the way it's been glued in place. We're going to pop it in, let it set for a second or two, and wipe it off and just leave a smaller panel line behind. I've done this before, it does work quite well. If you're not too rough removing it, it will leave it in the recessed areas. Like I say, moisten cotton bud, let it dries ultra quick, so you don't need to wait long at all. We're just going to use the cotton bud in the panel lines. I definitely didn't lick that, definitely did not lick it. And we're just going to wipe it all over, leaving as much as we can in the panel line whilst pushing it back in there, if that makes sense, and then removing any excess off the bodywork itself. Nice moistened kitchen paper now, and I definitely did not lick that. We can remove the excess. With the filler dry, let it dry for a couple of hours. We've got some Pro Scale pre-paint degreaser on a clean piece of kitchen paper. I'm just going to wipe all over the body to remove any fingerprints, any residue from the molding process, any nasties left behind from glue or filler. I'm just going to go around and give it a good clean up. So anywhere you've touched it, like I'm about to any second, you can clean up your big grubby bear paw prints. And this will give you a perfect paint finish later on. In the spray booth, we've got some Pro Scale Grey microfiller primer. Got a slightly darker primer on this because it's quite a dark blue colour. We've got our Tamiya anti-static brush to give it the all-important wipe over. The boot's running, the windows cracked open a touch, and we're at about 18 psi, and we're going to put down a couple of coats. This takes 2-3 coats in general. Build up nice and slow, don't go too heavy on it. And this grey colour is absolutely beautiful. The primer covers really well. It's got beautiful microfilling capabilities, And once it's flatted back, it goes as smooth as silk. It really does. I've sped this bit up, so I'll leave you to it. Okay, so we've got 3 coats of primer down, and we've let it dry for a good half an hour. Now we've got a Tamiya 3000 grit sanding sponge, and we're going to go around and flat it all. Our primer is absolutely beautiful stuff. Dries super quick. It is a microfiller primer, so it does need sanding to get the best out of it. With a 3000 grit sander, a quick go over the whole body, keeping it nice and dust-free. Wipe it off every now and then, and you will end up with a super smooth surface for your paint. As always, preparation is key. This one's a particularly difficult one because of all the raised areas on the wheel arches and the hump there behind the driver's head. So just take your time. Don't want to burn through the primer. We just want to flat it back to give us as smooth a surface as possible for our paint. We then go around with our Mickey Mouse toothbrush, all the recesses, all the corners and what have you, and get rid of any dust in there, and then wipe her over a clean piece of kitchen paper in preparation for paint. And here we are. It's about an hour after priming. We've got my Pro Scale Ferrari Le Mans blue. This colour is going to look absolutely fantastic. Trust me, I picked a good colour here. So the key to using our paint is nice thin coats. You don't want to be hosing this on. You'll get better coverage putting several light coats down than 2 or 3 really heavy ones. Trust me, you'll see the effect I get. This can have about 7 coats of paint down. I'm at about 18 psi of my iWater Revolution 0.3, and I'm not hosing it on. You'll see this colour change as we go through all the different coats of paint, and I'm going to leave you some music to watch me paint. Okay, this is our first coat of paint down. I've let it off gas for 5-10 minutes and we're back for our second coat. And again, we're not going mad. We're giving it a quick dust over with the airbrush to blow off any dust that may settle. We're going to go round and just give it another light coat. And as you can see, we're going up and down on this pass. The first pass was left to right and we will alternate between coats. Like I say, approximately 7 coats on this one. So we'll just keep going, and you'll see that colour change as we're going through the coats. You can already see it starting to get its colour now, and it will go an almost purple colour in a minute. It's an absolutely stunning colour, this, and it's going to absolutely change under clear coat as well. Very cool colour, and I'm really happy I picked this one. So I reckon this is about coat number 4, I'm going to guess now. You can see the colour starting to come alive now. It is absolutely stunning. There's a nice bit of pearl in the colour. Obviously, I mixed this colour myself. Myself and Simon both own Pro Scale paint, so all the paints are mixed by me. This was mixed by my own fair hands. And it's awesome to see these paints come to life. I see them as they're being mixed. I see all the colours going in them. It is a pearlescent blue, and it just looks absolutely fantastic. It really does. It's got a nice pearl hue to it, but it will completely change under clear coat. So it's difficult to remember how many coats are on exactly. I think it's about 7, and this is the very last coat. And you can see the depth of blue now is really built up. It's absolutely stunning. We've not gone heavy. We're not gone over the top of the coated paint. We've just done nice, light, thin coats and built it up over 7 coats. And trust me, do that, you'll end up with phenomenal paint. You can see now under the different lights of my bench, because I have different lights in the paint booth. The paint booth has a massive amount of light in there, so I can see while I'm painting. The light's a bit more evenly spread and have different K values on the bench. But you can see how beautiful that blue is. It's absolutely stunning. Now, the kit comes with decals. Sadly, there was none for mine on this scheme. It calls for you to mask it. It's a tricky one to do because that central hump is a particular width, so the decal or the mask needs to be that width, but also the speed hump behind the driver's head is in the way of that, and I worked out I could just get the tape past it. So you can see me measuring the bonnet bulge there. Batteries are gone in my gauge, unfortunately, so I'm just measuring it by eye, and it's locked, so I'm just measuring it and see it when it's adjusting, and then lifting the tape off and putting it back down so we're nice and even across the board. And then I'm doing that at the back as well to ensure we've got the perfect stripe. I am quite OCD on these things. If it's not perfect, I'm not going to do it. So it was check and double check. Just be careful using tools like this. This will scratch the paint, so be very careful. You can just see me using the tool going from front to back to check for the width and make sure it's equal across the way. Once I'm happy with it, we burnish it fully down, and we've got some Tamiya 3mm tape. The first one was 1mm tape. Actually, it was 0.7mm Azu, thinking back. And we've got some 3mm Tamiya tape now. I'm just going to infill the outer edge so we can get some tape and cling film on there to mask it off properly. But time taken here, this looks like it's taken me a couple of minutes. This was an hour or so work quite easily. Like I say, to save on the tape, we use cling film. So I just roll a piece out, roll it over, cut it in half, and then cut small sections that fit where I need to mask. And we'll do this in 4s on this one. 2 each side of the front, 2 each side of the back, and we'll infill the center parts. And detack every single piece of tape you put down. You don't need massively tacked tape on models. All it will do is ruin your hard work. And make sure you burnish everything down before you commit to any paint after masking as well. So I've gone around this twice now, made sure it's all burnished down. Any recesses or panel lines, made sure it's in there. So take your time, and as always, preparation is key. We've got some bright aluminium silver from Pro Scale, and we're going to use that for our stripe in the middle. And again, nice thin coats is the key. You don't want to go too heavy. Trust me, light thin coats are the way forward. You will get a much better paint finish. After I'd done this, even with it being masked and having the perfect silver stripe, there was no step on the paint whatsoever, which is the key for doing thin coats of paint. If you use a thick paint, you end up with a step and it will be prominent. You'll feel it. You might even see it through decals. So thin coats are the way to go. There is no need to spray these paints thick. They're not glossy. They are a satin finish paint. You get your gloss from our clear coat. So there we go, 3 light coats of that. We've got perfect coverage, unmasked, and it's absolutely perfect. No bleed through, no overspray, it's perfectly straight. I'm just wiping it all over, checking for that lip, and there is none. It's perfectly smooth everywhere, absolutely brilliant. Very simple decal scheme on this. There is just 4 roundels on it. Number 19 is the colour for this car, so that's what I've gone for. I think the car traditionally had a white stripe, but my buddy Joe Camilleri, or Bobcat Joe, he decided the silver looked nice. And you know what? I agree with him. I'm glad I went for silver. It's different and it looks quite nice. We've got some Ultimate Modern Products decal solutions. I'm going straight for the strong on this. Hasegawa decals are normally pretty good, so I know they're going to respond well to the strong. I've got it in place, removed all the moisture from underneath the decal. I'm going to hit it with the strong, let the decal solution do its trick, and get the decal nice and bedded in place. So I tend to put it on, let it soak for a minute or so, come back, brush over it again, wipe it off, and keep going until you're happy that it's set in place. Once it is, you can get a piece of tissue and very gently brush off any excess decal solution. And if you get any air bubbles, you can get them out with this or a cotton bud as well. And then to get a final piece de resistance, or pierre of your Michael, you can get a heat gun on there, and this will bed them in properly. Now, there are panel lines. We're going to have to cut some of these, but we're just going to get them all bedded down first. A little bit of heat helps off the gun. How nice is that paint? It looks beautiful. It really does. We've got a fresh blade in our scalpel. I'm just going to draw that lightly down the panel lines, like so. Thankfully, the decals hide some of those panel lines. We kind of had a bit of a fit issue putting the side pods on, so thankfully the decals kind of hide that. And then we're going to go around the whole model and give it a Tamiya black panel line wash. Doesn't really show against the blue. Let it dry for half an hour or so and wipe it off with a nice clean piece of tissue with some Winsor & Newton Sansador odorless mineral spirits and a cotton bud where required. And as I always say, when you're wiping it off, put it down 5 minutes, come back, and I'll almost guarantee you'll see somewhere you have missed. Almost guarantee it. So that has been drying now for 2 days. We've got our ProScale 2K system now, and we're going to mix up a 2-to-1 mix of clear and hardener and a 5% mix of thinner. So this time today, I think I went for 9mm of clear, and then it was 4.5mm of hardener. Do not pour the hardener in. If you get hardener around the rim of the lid, it will glue your lid shut. So use a pipette, and use a clean pipette for the hardener. So there's 2.5mm and then 2mm for our 4.5. So 9mm of clear. Half of that is 4.5mm. That's the 2-to-1 mix. And then 0.5% of 13mm would be 1.3. So divide that by half. It's actually 1.35. I'm going to confuse people now, aren't I? It's 13.5. Divide by 10 would be 1.3. Divide by half again to get the 5%, and it's 0.7mm of thinner. So that was 0.7mm of thinner. Fresh pipette for the thinner. It's really easy mixing 2K. Don't get over confused by me and figures. It's literally a 2-to-1 mix. It's 2 parts clear, 1 part activator, and 5% thinner of the overall mix. It's really simple. Mix up the hardener and the clear, then put your thinner in and mix the whole concoction together. And I would always recommend straining your clears, just in case anything gets in there from the rim of a bottle or a bit of tissue or anything. And as always, the Tamiya anti-static brush doing its job there. So our 2K system calls for a nice semi-wet first coat. So we're going to put this on quite thick. But look how different this colour is when it's cleared. It changes colour. It's beautiful. Absolutely stunning. This is my Water Revolution 0.5. I'm at 24 psi. Like I say, the first coat is going to be a semi-wet, so we are really putting down this clear coat down on the model. Our 2K system is unbelievably forgiving. Trust me, even I'm astounded how forgiving it is and how much clear coat you can put down and how thin it dries at the end. It really is magical stuff. Like I say, this is a tricky car to spray. There's lots of angles because the front arch is kind of mould in from the front, and we've got all these little recesses at the front and everywhere. Pay particular attention, because remember, how this 2K dries at the end is how it will look once it's cured. So you want to do as good a job as you can. Now, my room has been cleaned. My booth has been completely stripped out of all the paints and storage systems and airbrushes. It's got fresh tissue in it, a fresh filter that was all done the night before. My storage box is to the left-hand side where I put the models in when they're off-gassing. It's a vented box with a drop-down front. The kitchen paper's been wetted in front as well, so it catches any particles that may land on it. It stops them floating back up in the air. And like I say, this first coat is just a semi-wet coat, but it's very important to make sure on a kit like this with all these angles we get everywhere. So don't be afraid of going around, having a good look. My boot is on, I have my full face respirator on, my left arm is double gloved, my arm is covered, my skin is covered. Please use the appropriate respirator, which is an organic filtered one, and make sure you got a good spray booth, and don't be doing this around family or pets. This should be something you're doing in a room on your own, and once it's done, leave the room and let it off gas for a couple of hours by itself. Same on the bonnet or the hood, wherever in the world you're from, you'll call it. A nice semi-wet coat. And you can just see how much it darkens that blue up the clear coat. It really is beautiful at the end of this. Stick with me, you'll see how pretty it looks. We let that off gas for 5 minutes and we're back, and this is our full wet coat now. So we're pulling back a little bit further on the trigger of the airbrush. This is a 0.5, so it is a decent spray pattern. And now we're putting a decent clear coat down. Now the idea of the first coat is you let it go tacky. This stuff goes super sticky. And when you put this wet coat down, because it's so sticky, it helps reduce the amount of runs that you get and helps it stick to the surface. So this is where we want to try and get this like glass. Now, don't worry about getting it with just this coat. My trick is put the second coat down, nice wet coat all over, nice even coat, and then pop it back in your storage container for 60 seconds. 2K has massive self-leveling capabilities. It really is astounding. Let it sit for a minute, let it self-level, and get it as good as you can. Take it out and have a look, and if you can still see imperfections, orange peel, or the surface isn't quite glass-like, put another light coat down. It'll be just fine. Don't be afraid of pushing it a bit. This is very, very forgiving 2K. Trust me, I know what I'm talking about. Don't be afraid of putting a good coat down. But just for the first one, see my compressor's on now. Just for the first one, get your nice semi-wet coat down. The second one, get a decent wet coat down. And like I say, put it back in your storage container for a minute or so, 60-90 seconds, let it self-level, and then bring it out and have a look how she looks. So I'm just looking at all the angles. There are lots on this car. It is a particularly difficult one to do. And I'm just trying to get an even finish all over before I pop it back in. And obviously be careful when you're lifting it up and down that it doesn't fall off the stand, and that you don't catch it on a filter or the tissue on the floor. Like I say, pop it back in the spray container like I'm about to do now. And while it's sitting in there self-leveling, you can do the bonnet. But like I say, don't be afraid to push R2K. You really can push how much you go down. I don't mean hose it all on one lot. Put a coat on, let it tack off and flash off, let it self-level. And like I say, about 90 seconds later, I've taken it back out, and I can just see it just needs a little bit more. So I'm just going a little bit easier on the airbrush now. I'm not pulling back as far. We don't quite need as much material. I'm just giving it a light coat all over, like so. And then we'll pop it back in that plastic container for another minute. Let it self-level and have a last look at it. Like I say, I've said this many times, it's a very tricky body to spray. There's so many little recesses and raised areas and recessed areas. You've got to be very careful you're getting everywhere, especially on this front end. It's a little bit of a nightmare on the front end. But look at that blue. How gorgeous does that look? Oh, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous, isn't it? Absolutely beautiful. The silver stripe looks fantastic as well. And I'm just looking around, just trying to get that nice even finish all over before I pop it back in the box. It's near enough perfect, but again, I'm going to pop it in the box, let it sit there for another minute before I get it out and assess how it looks. So don't be too obsessive on getting it with that second coat. You more than likely won't, unless you hose the paint on. If you do that, you run the risk of getting runs. So don't be afraid of putting a couple of light coats on after the main heavy coat. There we go. So that's been back in the box another 60 seconds. We've done the bonnet as well. And I'm using the light of my boot to look all over for any imperfections. You're going to get dust. Dust is going to happen. It's just one of those things. We can deal with that in the polishing stage. But all we're looking for is that perfect glass-like finish. What it looks like now is how it's going to dry. So if you see a little bit, like I'm about to in a second, and you think it just needs a touch more clear, just give it a little bit like that. There we go. A little bit of the back end as well. If you're not quite happy, just give it a little bit more. Don't be afraid of giving it a bit more. And there we go. It's been back in the case again. And I'll have another look around before I commit to putting everything away. Absolutely beautifully stunning colour. Beautifully stunning finish. The silver stripe looks amazing. I really do thank Joe for suggesting that. And I'm just using the angle of the light in my booth. Like I said, I have massive light in here. There's 2 huge strip light LEDs overhead. And I can use that to my advantage, looking for orange peel. And there's none. Not a trace of it. It is perfect. Absolutely perfect. Beautiful colour. So I'll pop that back in there while we tidy up. And then we'll come back and have a little look at it on the turntable. So it's about 5 hours later. This thing is touch dry. Our 2K dries super quick. Just look at that colour. Absolutely beautiful, beautiful Ferrari Le Mans blue. Stunning clear coat. Decals are lovely. The silver stripe looks amazing. And you could swim in that clear coat. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, it's too thick, yada, yada, yada. Rubbish. Sorry. It is. This hasn't been flatted back yet. I will completely flat this back with 3M Trizic pads and polish it up to a shine again. So while it might look over thick now, once I've finished with it, it won't. It'll look a lot thinner. But for me, that's the perfect paint job and 2K job right there. She looks absolutely stunning. A beautiful colour that's just come alive under the 2K. It really is absolutely stunning. I've got some still shots as well to show it. It looks different under all different lights. The camera, the actual video camera, shows the colours best. It always seems to show the true representation of the colour that I see. But beautiful colour, really is nice, and the 2K is just absolutely perfect. So well happy with this colour, well happy with the silver stripe, and well happy with the results. There we are. So that's where we're going to leave it today. That colour is absolutely wonderful. Even uncleared, it looks absolutely phenomenal. It really does. It's a pretty, pretty colour. Under the 2K, it looks absolutely phenomenal. And I am still blown away at how good our Pro Range 2K is. Even though it's my own product, it's just so forgiving. It's unbelievably forgiving. It's amazing how much you can put down, the finish you get, how thin it actually dries, and just how it responds to polishing as well. It looks beautiful. The BMWs have finished over the past month speak for themselves. The Imola Red, the Daytona Violet, and the Snapper Rocks Blue all speak for themselves. And this thing is going to look absolutely spanking when it's done. So really looking forward to it. If you think to start trying our products, go to our website. It's linked in the description down below. We've got about 89 paints in the range so far. And we'll colour mix anything you want. Any colour code you can get us, or colour, custom colour, whatever. You find us the code and the name, and we'll try and find it and get it mixed for you. Simple as that. But there we go. That's where we are today. I've got a new project I'm going to start in the next few days as well, so you should see that soon. And I'm going to crack on with part 2 of this as well and get the engine built up, I think it is, and all the chassis done. But there we go. That's where we are today. As always, all the links down below cover everything from the forum to the Facebook page to UMP, ProScale, the live, the bench, Off Air Hangouts, everything's down there. The links to my Patreon down there if you want to help support these videos and keep them going. Without your support, I couldn't do this. There's a link to my Patreon. It's got all applicable tiers and benefits for being a patron. There's an email address to get in touch with me should you wish as well. There's a link to my Scalmate so you can look at my stash should you wish. And always make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, click that bell notification to get notified of all the latest videos, and leave a comment. Love reading all your comments. You always spare me along in the build. And I hope I'll be back very soon for part 2 of this build. There we are. Enjoy the rest of the day, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.